Anyway, something that I promised last time, which was talking about a game called Satisfactory. So this was a game I heard about a while ago and really interested me, really grabbed my imagination. Excuse me. And I was waiting until it went on a decent sale for me to pick it up, because I don't got all the monies to spend. Excuse me. Now I got like the hiccups. So Satisfactory is a game that is kind of in that, I don't know exactly what to call it, industrial simulation, tycoon kind of games. Sort of things like Factorio. Anything that you picture in your mind a game about exploiting natural resources and creating a big system to make things out of resources and turn things into other things and transport materials from one place to another. And you make a big system. And that is something that makes my brain go, oh, because I love making a system. It makes my brain very happy to put something like that together. And what I was interested about in Satisfactory is that it's a game that it's this kind of game, but it takes place in the first person. And the more that I learned about it, the more it reminded me of an idea for a game that I had way back when I was like a child, like a little kid. I always thought it would be really cool to have a game where the idea was you would land on like an alien planet. I always pictured something like the moon or Mars, something kind of desolate on the surface, with like some very scant resources at the top. But then if you ventured deeper into the world, you would find more interesting like alien sources of energy and materials, and you would use these to build things. I was a kid who was really into Minecraft videos and space. Well, like science fiction kind of thing. So I had this whole, I dreamed up this whole idea for a game when I was a kid, and Satisfactory, like, kind of is that game, crazy enough. It's really weird. It almost feels like fulfilling a childhood fantasy of a game that would be super cool if they made it. And now someone did. It's like, because it's the idea is it's not just like managing the thing from a top-down perspective. It's walking around your the environment and the things that you build, and managing things by hand and getting up close to it and stuff like that. So I was just, man, I was like, this seems so cool. I finally got the opportunity to pick it up, and I really like it. It's one of those games that really grabs my goat. Is grabbing your goat a good thing or a bad thing? I'm using it as a good thing. The thing that I like about Satisfactory compared to, it's not really like Minecraft. So, okay, I have this problem with Minecraft where every 6 months I boot it up and I play it for a day or two and I'm really into it, and then I hit this wall of like existentialism where I just ask myself, why am I playing this? What is the goal here? What am I trying to accomplish? I actually think this is really boring and aimless. And all of a sudden, all of my enthusiasm completely vanishes for the game. And I've brought this up on to some people, and I've brought it up sometimes just like on like online discussions about, oh, you know, what's something that's popular that you couldn't get into, and why? You know, those kinds of things. And I would mention for me, it was always Minecraft, because it's something that I don't know, I get the itch to go back to it, and then I go back to it and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember why I don't really like this game that much. I'm not a Minecraft hater, it's just not my thing. Fucking don't think just because I said I didn't like something that I hate it. That's not what it is. Remember, I have a huge middle ground. So people have then said to me in response, like, oh, you should try it out modded. And in my mind, that like defeats the purpose, Like, if I have to mod the fuck out of a game to make it enjoyable, I'm not talking about, like, quality of life mods that, fix bugs and stuff like that. Like, that, I've done that for games, right? I'm talking about content mods that basically make the game into something completely different. In my mind, it's like, well, why wouldn't I just play a game that is that instead of playing a game that I have to mod to do that, right? Like, it seems kind of self-defeating to me. Like, it's like, well, no, it sucks, but if you install 1,000 mods, it becomes kind of interesting and you might like it. Like it's not a very compelling argument to me. But I did love, I used to watch the Yogs cast a lot, and I always liked their Tekkit, and I think they did another one that was similar to it, like called Voltic, something like that, playthroughs, where it was just like modded Minecraft Let's Plays that they would do, and these were very like realistic physics and like energy generator building, like big realistic industrial simulator Minecraft mods. And I thought that was really cool, but like I wish that was just its own game and I didn't have to play Minecraft in it. Like if I really wanted to, I guess I could play Minecraft, but I wish that was just its own thing. And now it is, and it's called Satisfactory. So that's the whole deal. The other thing with Satisfactory is that it gives you very clear goals. So I'll break it down. I'll slow down a little bit. So the premise is that you're like a space explorer person from a company that wants to colonize places on space and harvest them for natural resources, which, in the real world is like questionably ethical, but in a video game is cool and fun. Like killing prostitutes in Grand Theft Auto. So you land on this planet, and then you have the means to harvest resources, and you start out very, very slow. They just want you to build like a base. Which is like its own building. They want you to build like do a couple like regular advancements. Oh, harvest some iron, harvest some copper from the environment. You have a thing that they have like a radar that you can like, and it'll send out a big thing. It'll send out a big wave. And then you'll get little pings for how close resources are. You like mine some of them. They don't run out. They're like infinite, but like you gotta run to them. And then you slowly start building up with more and more buildings. And then you run into a building that needs power to run. So you need a generator that's part of and luckily you have 2 generators as part of your home base. Well, how do you power the generators? Well, these ones run off of biomass. You don't unlock coal or like oil power for a while. So these run off of biomass. So you got to go around foraging for leaves, and you put the leaves in the thing, and you connect them with some copper wiring, and then the thing runs. And then you build conveyor belts. You get the thing, you get a way to, you start out with these little like remote miners that you just kind of set down, and they're like little machines, and they just automatically mine a thing. But you have to go and manually take them out. There's a lot of tedium. Well, not a lot. There's enough tedium to make you go, I wish there was a faster way to do this. And there is. It is a deliberately unsatisfying, kind of annoying experience for just long enough that you're like, I wish there was a better way. And then you see the goal, and they're like, there is a faster way to do this. And you're like, oh, I got to get to that. So the portable miners, right? You set them down, but you got to take them out by hand. Then you do some like leveling up of your base by fulfilling certain objectives and getting a certain amount of resources. And then it's like, oh, now you can make a miner, like a full-on mining rig that you can build on a resource spot, on a deposit. And then you can get conveyor belts, and they'll move the raw ore into a smelter that'll turn the raw iron into iron bars, and then iron ingots, and then you can build another conveyor belt that goes out of the smelter and into like a thing that like constructs that assembles objects from one thing into like a regular, like 1-to-1. There's like manual crafting that you can do. of items, but you can automate the process with the building. And certain buildings were like, okay, this will take one item and turn it into one item, or this eventually you get like this will take two items and turn it into one item that's like more advanced and complex. And then I'm assuming it gets even bigger from there, but it's just this like steady process of getting more resources to build more things. And the answer to why is this taking so long is increase production. Find more iron, find more copper, build more miners and conveyor belts, and they will span the land. So building a conveyor belt is as simple as like you take out you hit the Q button, which is the build button. Select the conveyor belt, and then, or you can hotkey buildings and stuff like that, and then click. You just click from like one, like the entrance or the exit of a machine of a building, and then you just point over at another one, and if the conditions are correct, if it's not too steep or there's like not another building in the way, then you can usually just materialize it. Hey, one thing this game does, it lets you clip conveyor belts through each other and through the terrain at certain points. I don't know how much of it is intentional. It looks very buggy and messed up, but it's like a godsend. It is a godsend. Because eventually I found myself, it's one of these things where you start setting up your whole base and it starts expanding and expanding and expanding with like, okay, well now I need this because I need this item, and that requires these two items. So I'm going to have to get like this whole supply line to automate making it. And then you keep adding and adding and adding onto it. And I'm like, oh no, now this is getting really messy. So the ability for conveyor belts to just clip through each other with no issue is like a godsend. It's incredible. I end up realizing, I'm like, oh man, if I did another run or I started another campaign, right? Maybe I'd probably, just with the knowledge, set things up a little more elegantly. This is just my first run in my first planet or whatever. But as of now, I'm happy with the progress. And there's all these different means of progressing and different things that unlock you more things. And it's not just like arbitrary stuff. It's like, here's a new item that you can craft that unlocks more things that for you to build. There's like this whole research building that you can build, and you put certain materials in to research it, and it unlocks you things like more inventory space or access to, one of the best things I got was the biomass fuel so far. It's one of the best things so far was the biomass fuel. So you can turn leaves and wood, which are just like the biomass, like raw fuel, and then you could turn them into like a compost looking thing. And that's like way more efficient and long lasting than just the raw materials. And you can turn that eventually into like fuel, like basically like what is it called? High density or something like that. Biomass fuel, heavy biomass fuel, something like that. And then that's like even longer. I'm like, oh yeah, I got this figured out. Now I have a thing. So I have like 4 different lines of production from a couple different iron ore deposits. I've got a copper deposit that is just feeding me constant wiring. I've got a bunch of different generators that I have to keep running. I have a bunch of things that go into storage, and then at need be, I'll build like a thing from the storage container to send it to like an assembler, and the assembler will put it together into another thing. And it's great. It makes my brain so happy Very cool game. I think it's worth it. If I had the money to buy it at regular price, I think it would totally be worth it. It is in early access, so there's a little bit of bugginess. The game has a very long boot time, from what I could tell. I know that I install all of my Steam games to my hard disk drive, so I'm aware that that tends to have a longer read speed, a slower read speed than something like an SSD, but I usually don't have much of a problem with it to the point where it's noticeable. This is the first time that, like, I don't know if it's the game or the fact that my computer has to read it off of an HDD that has a slower speed. So yeah, it takes like a minute for the game to load up, and then a little while for the actual like world to load itself. But it's not the biggest problem in the world, and I haven't had any crashes so far. Yeah, there's all this like interesting, cool stuff. I've been very confined to like a small area, but the further that I go, I'm like, oh, I need oil now. I need oil or coal or something like that, and I gotta go find it. So I have begun the expedition process of I need to find more coal, or I need to find it in the first place and get to it, and make sure that it's around like a body of water so that I need water to transport. I'm not sure. I'm sure it's like a chemistry thing or something like that. But yeah, Satisfactory, really cool game. It scratches an itch that I've had for a while, and it scratches it good. Also, it can be played co-op, so that's neat. It does mean that even when you're playing single player, you can't truly pause the game unless you use a console command, which is a little annoying because there's definitely like a time element with the fuel usage. Like if I have to like step away for a second, like, oh, I want to go make some food. I have to like do some console commands instead of just hitting escape, and then I don't have to worry about, oh, while I'm making my food, the fuel is going to run out for my generators. I'm going to come back. I'm going to have lost a bunch of productivity kind of thing. But yeah, I guess it's possible. I wish that it was a thing for single player games, or if there wasn't, I wish that it was a thing that if as long as there was only one person in the world, and then if someone tries to join the world while it's paused, they will not be able to, kind of like just block them till someone unpauses. I don't know. Does that make sense? That makes sense to me. But yeah, Satisfactory, really cool game. Recommend it. Check it out. Industrialism, baby. Oh, ooh, 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 yeah, ooh, rah, ooh, rah.